kind of botched up that one anyway. So hey, I'm Rick. This is your seat at the table. You know what we're doing. So we're looking at Fred Dodge, and Fred Dodge has been kind of having a dry run with this wannabe terrorist dude that's been bothering one of my platinums, and not so much on the local thug group either. So now we have this somebody spotted a smuggler warship arriving outside of town and doing something questionable, right? So part of the rule set, or the encounter says, we have to roll to determine the hull class, and we apply the House the House Lord's modifier, which the noble status modifier is -50 because they're Esquire. It's not until we officially settle a second colony in another solar system within our region, not in the same system. So I could colonize the moon and the swamp planet in my home system, and even those errands, and still not qualify as a promotion. So to become a quote Thane, which would be overseeing more than one settled solar system, you would need a second colony. And so potentially that other Arctic or swamp world that we've been mucking around with in that adjacent star system now has some potential stuff for that, because there's an abandoned no, that's anyway, yeah, we'll get down the road. So let's figure out what size warship this is. The idea, of course, is we don't want a star destroyer showing up in orbit, because we would be totally screwed. I mean, in no way whatsoever form possible can we even make a dent in something like even close to a tenth that size. So a 55 minus 5, or 50, makes it a 5, and this puts it at the class 2 category. So a class 2, which is a sloop, is about the same size and type as the one that one of my platinums had generously donated to the house to use. So a Tech 2 sloop, which is fine. And we know there's a smuggler chief on board, but we don't know anything else other than that. So at that point, we go and, you know, like I said, I should have gone up when I was front and got my damn cheat sheets, because I kind of wish I had now. Yeah, right. That's all small unit combat and other things related to it. Satisfaction charts. We decided to ever go down that one. Quick negotiations. And interaction response to combat charts. Alright. Technically, interrogations fall under either. I mean, a search can be a search, or it can be a interrogation. So, I mean, it's just a matter of how you're interrogating their terrain. You know, depends on how you want to argue. I'll go with the investigation, right? Right. So, you know, and let's see. That is Fred's spot. Perimeter security. I mean, because, I mean, it's quite possible with the technology and stuff that's available to everybody out there that whoever's the smuggler chief and them people are going to know Fred Dodge is out there. And probably before Fred can find out what he wants to find out, because, you know, he just doesn't have the equipment modifiers that some of these other people have advantages to. So 30 was it? It was 32, maybe. He spots something, but he isn't sure. See. can he see this chief smuggler? Yeah, 22, and it's got a minus a 5, so things aren't going really well, is it? 22 minus 5, so that's 17. So, no. Now things are getting to be ugly. Gotta be cautious because, see, now if I go and I follow the logical train of thought, can I get close enough? Can Fred get close enough to get a, get close, get a closer look, and not get caught? When I got a negative 20, and his skills modifiers, like I said, it's about a +5 when it comes to that sort of thing. So I'm not quite so sure. Observation from afar is probably a good thing. Let's see. So. Any local toughs arrive? I mean, technically they could arrive, but they could already be down there, but still the same potential is there. So, 96 minus 20 is 76. Yes. So yeah, we do got some local toughs showing up. So obviously they're making some connections down there. Spot the head tough. I mean, because Fred's been looking for that person for a minute too, and not had a whole lot of success. If you can get a heads up, 77, and the modifier for the previous was a +20, so we're at 97 now, which is extremely high. Yes. And no modifiers. So, yes. So there's no modifiers. That one doesn't carry over. I spot terrorist. The guy that somebody that he thinks might be the terrorist to be a more appropriate one, since we don't actually know what the terrorist looks like. So 40. 40 is maybe. Alright, so the local tough showed up, probably a handful, and the one that they all seem to be kissing ass and kowtowing to would be the leader, which is what Fred Dodge's conclusion would be. So I know what you look like, and then somebody's with this leader that doesn't belong, doesn't fit with the obvious appearance, looks, and attitudes of the local tough, the local wannabe punk gang, tough gang, whatever you want to call them. And Fred who has been convinced that the terrorists have been working with the toughs, or vice versa, since this whole thing started, makes that intuition to say, hey, that's not a person that's normally, but they're hanging out when they're being giving some sort of respect by the tough boss, and so we just kind of connect the dots here. Let's see, cycle 14. So my first inclination, right off the top of my head, would be can Fred get an image, which would be great if he had a device that allowed him to do this. And at this point, we don't have any devices. We don't even have given that there are cell phones available commercially for the planet. I mean, it's hard to envision a communication system in any future setting that involves humans that doesn't include some sort of semblance of what we now take for granted. I mean, that's something we don't, I don't think we overly think about for good reason. Why would we? But at the end of the day, there's something to take into account. So the odds are, if I can get an event role that crops up that allows me to have a small local industry to produce personal communication devices, then I have my versions of the cell phone, vice versa. And the house factory, of course, can produce, I can task my 1 ton of allotment per cycle of random crap to produce a couple runs of communications devices, which is something I probably should do for my local government, if nothing else. But it's one of those. There's so many things that you take for granted that you don't think you may or may not want or need. So it's a matter of taste. So he can't take a physical picture with him. I don't have the equipment to do this. I don't have the sneakware available. So neither does he have cybernetics. If he has a cybernetic system, which included an electronic eye, a cybernetic eye, which would then potentially allow him to take images and store them in his neural net if he has a neural net implant, which we're back to the odds are that most of these first generation colonists may very well have a neural net, and that's up to you to decide. Everybody has one. Now, the only people who wouldn't have them would be native planets or planets with native populations that are tech levels are lower than the Imperium standard at 1, or places where they've been banned and actively banned. And then there's after the fact. So everybody coming to the colony effort might have had an implant when they were back at their home house, wherever they originated from. Once you get out here to the frontier and you have new generations, your next generations, your children are not going to have access to those neural implants unless an Imperial medical cruiser comes along and you've got the money to pay to have them installed, or B, the local house, i.e. you, come up with the production capabilities to produce the cybernetic technology that you wish, and not only produce it, but then you need the healthcare system to install and maintain the damn thing. So I mean, it's a vicious cycle on purpose, right? It's just the nature of the beast. So right now, I don't want Fred to risk getting too close, because I don't really want to lose Fred at this point. He's become quite valuable. He's gaining some experience, which is going to raise his rankings, and in a couple more cycles, when my Sensei's current class is completed, then I'm going to have Fred go through her class for 5 cycles to pick up some actually pick up some skills and stuff that he can build upon and get better points for his abilities and things like this. It is what it is. So until, I mean, next cycle, I can make an effort to follow the local toughs and stuff when they leave. I don't know that Fred's in any position to be talking to this smuggler chief. I will check, I guess, next cycle. If the ship sticks around, at that point, I might choose to have my Minister of Commerce and Labor make a visit to the smuggler chief, because remember what I said about getting stuff. Now I could use a pile of heavy steel. There's a number of natural or manufactured resources I could use that I don't have. I also could any type of weapon systems, any kinds of ship components that are within my budget, all that stuff is welcome. So one of those ways to obtaining those, remember I said earlier about having a trade planet nearby. So you got Trade World to go, or I guess that was in my earlier video. So if you had a trade world that you could go and just basically buy what you wanted and ship it back, the next best thing is to find third party. So pirates, smugglers, guilds, all are options for acquiring stuff that instead of waiting for the ship to just randomly drop off stuff, you can actively try to acquire things. And then they might know where the damn trade worlds are, and they're not going to want to tell you how to get there anytime soon. And so they're just going to, they're going to charge you, and you'll say, I need this, this, and this, and then we'll say, okay, the trade world is, I don't know, 11 jumps away for this particular smuggler ship. So it's going to take 11 cycles to get there, and then 1 cycle there, and 11 cycles to come back. So you're not going to see anything for 23 cycles. And you're banking on the fact that this individual's actually taking your credits and buying your stuff and bringing it back to you. I mean, you can negotiate for them to go buy the stuff themselves and bring it back to you at a significant increase. It's a matter of whether how you want to progress down that set of negotiations and things on your own. That's just something to consider, right? So this is Fred Dodge at the moment, and I think we'll bounce on to the next thing.